My name is Brandon. I own Bewilderment. It's a gift store in Lancaster, Ohio, a very red city in Ohio. We originally caught flack from these groups, well, because I'm gay. They were trying to protest the local Pride event. Ironically, I didn't participate in Pride that year. All for it. Didn't sponsor it, though, and didn't attend it. But they put out a list that now they're taking back. They're saying it's not a boycott, but it was a boycott.
You just heard from Brandon Love, a gay store owner in Lancaster who became the target of a boycott by a local conservative group because of something that he had absolutely nothing to do with. Now, spoiler alert, their attempt to boycott his business backfired spectacularly, to put it mildly. But before we talk about their boycott attempt, I do want to give you some additional context so that way you understand what happened in the lead up to that boycott attempt. Now, the original goal of this Facebook group, this conservative group, was to possibly jail LGBTQ plus people with false accusations. But when that failed, they opted for Plan B, which was to punish local institutions that were queer or queer affirming. So it all started on September 14th when a local LGBTQ plus organization called the Rainbow Alliance hosted its 7th annual Light the Night event, which was a family-friendly pride event. It was a festival, food, music, you know the deal, but they hosted an outdoor drag show. Now, local conservatives from an online Facebook group called the Fairfax County Conservatives decided to show up to the event to collect evidence that it was sexually explicit. Now, I took a look at the Fairfax County Conservative page, and even though it's a very small group with like 1,500 people, I don't think it's uncharitable to characterize them as a hate group. So once these anti-LGBTQ plus zealots caught wind of the event, they showed up looking for things to be offended by, and they found just that, predictably. So one of the admins of the Facebook group uploaded a document with a bunch of photos and videos that was supposedly evidence that the event was pornographic. That's literally the word that they used to describe it. And here's what they found. They found drag queens dancing and lip syncing to songs. I mean, there was nothing sexual about this. You can argue that the queen on the left is showing too much skin, I guess, but that's an entirely different conversation. Remember, their claim was that this was tantamount to porn. It was pornographic. But even though they said that, none of the dance moves were sexually suggestive or anything like that. But here's where they struck gold. They photographed this queen, quote, spread eagle, as they described it, and these photos in particular were the ones that sparked the most outrage online. And these pictures, according to their logic, was evidence that this event was indeed pornographic, as they claimed. Now, the implication is that this scantily clad queen is in that position to simulate sex, because they describe this as pornographic. But in actuality, those screenshots were literally taken in the middle of cartwheels and split-second dance moves that were genuinely impressive. They were doing acrobatics. Now, they also shared a video of kids and teenagers dancing in a gazebo, which I'm not going to show you because some of the parents were rightfully pissed off that these conservatives were creepily filming their kids without their consent. And the reason that they thought it was a good idea to film other people's children was because they wanted to point out that they were offended by the music that they were dancing to that had naughty words. Now, I said this before, I'll say it again. It is incumbent on the parents to decide what is and isn't appropriate for their children. Some parents take issue with anyone wearing bikinis, regardless if it's women, drag queens, or the Little Mermaid, right? Others don't. Some parents take their kids to Hooters, let them shoot guns, let them watch PG-13 and even R-rated movies and play M-rated games, and let them listen to music with curse words so long as they know not to repeat them. Other parents heavily monitor the music that their children listen to and establish strict parameters. My parents, for example, they went through phases where sometimes there were more laissez-faire, but if they got back to church more heavily, then they would establish more strict boundaries for me. And they would only let me listen to Christian music because anything that didn't glorify God in their mind was satanic. And I shouldn't say that they told me I couldn't listen to non-Christian music, but they kind of gave me the choice, with the caveat being that if I made the wrong choice, I could face eternal damnation if I didn't, get rid of my satanic music CDs like Britney Spears or whatever the hell I was listening to back in the day. But that's besides the point. The point is that the level of tolerance is dictated by the parents, and perhaps the Fairfax County Republicans might also find it offensive if these parents took their children to a beach where cis women were wearing bikinis there too. Something tells me, though, that they probably wouldn't take issue with that. And I get the sense from these people that skimpy clothing is only offensive or pornographic to them if queer people dress that way. And this is just a hunch, but, I bet if their kids saw cis cheerleaders doing those same moves as that drag queen, they wouldn't say a single thing about it. But they are allowed as parents to make those determinations. The problem is they're trying to dictate what's acceptable for other people's children too. And after that event, the Fairfax County Republicans showed up to a town hall multiple times actually, and they raised hell about that event. They wanted it banned, and they basically argued that the action at that event constituted a violation of public indecency statutes. They said it was pornographic. So when you say something is pornographic, the implication is that, oh, well, if they were exposing themselves in public, of course, that's actionable. Now, this led to Stephanie Hall, the city's law director, getting a literal detective to review the footage that they took after they claimed it was pornographic. And here's the conclusion that Hall came to, per a local NBC affiliate. Quote, Hall explained that the videos and photos were also reviewed by a detective who did not find any instances of behavior that would require law enforcement to intervene or issue any kind of citation. Hall also had 2 assistant prosecutors from different sides of the political spectrum review the material. Quote, we all 3 watched the same video and looked at the same pictures and all came to the conclusion that nothing that happened was a chargeable criminal offense. We did not see anything that amounted to visible genitalia, said Hall. None of that was present. Didn't see any of it. It was all covered by the performer's actual costume. There was no sexual conduct or sexual contact. And if you read the full article, you get the sense that Hall is actually sympathetic to these Republicans. She was saying, yeah, you know, I wouldn't take my kids to it. I'm paraphrasing what she said, but she basically said that she personally thought that it was inappropriate. But you know, when you're trying to objectively determine whether or not they broke the law, she has to concede, no, nothing actionable was done here. So nothing came of these people's complaints because you can't penalize somebody because you think their clothes are too slutty. Like, it's not the 1920s anymore. You can think that somebody is dressed inappropriately, but there's nothing actionable there. And I genuinely don't know if they were expecting the drag performers to be arrested or just to get the event banned. But since that didn't happen, well, they called for a ban on drag performances altogether at the local level in the form of a ban on adult cabaret. And the stipulation on this adult cabaret ban was that it would be considered adult, i.e. explicit, insofar as the performers wore clothing that deviated from the gender that they were assigned at birth. So it was effectively a drag ban, but they adopted the language from a state GOP bill that proposed a ban on drag shows under the pretense that it was adult cabaret as well. But they did not stop there. They began to publicize a list of local businesses and institutions that support the Rainbow Alliance, which again, that's the organization that put on the event. And the local businesses that were being targeted were disproportionately queer-owned businesses that had nothing to do with the event. But since they supported the organization in some capacity, that was enough for them to be penalized. In their eyes, gay people did a crime. And so long as some queers are punished for something, then all is right in the universe. So that's where we get back to Brandon Love, because as he said, he didn't sponsor or even attend the event, but since he was gay, he was in their crosshairs. And the list that they circulated ended up blowing up online, but not for the reasons that they were hoping for.
Small business owners in Lancaster say they've experienced an influx of customers after their shops were included on a social media post tying them to a debated LGBTQ plus pride event. Brandon Love, who's the owner of Bewilderment, told NBC4 his business is one of several that saw a boost in sales when the store was named to a list shared by members of Fairfield County conservatives. Love said this happened when the group posted the list as part of an alleged boycott against businesses that support the LGBTQ plus community. The list circulated after members of the group spoke during city council meetings in protest of a pride event hosted by the Rainbow Alliance of Fairfield County.
Yeah, so needless to say, the boycott backfired badly. And Brandon, the owner of the shop, mentioned in the report that he saw at least 200 people drive from out of town just to support his business, but that shop was not the only one that saw a boost. Quote, Teresa Speakman, owner of Art Collection and Make Your Pottery Space Mud Gallery, said she also has received increased support from consumers. Speakman said she is an ally to the LGBTQ plus community and has long kept a pride flag inside her business. I've had people come in here and say, oh, thank you for your flag, your rainbow flag. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a safe space, Speakman said. I'm always interested in building community, and I'm an ally of anyone that needs a safe space. And you love to see it. Now, Brandon, the owner of the first shop, Bewilderment, said that this wasn't the first time that his business was the subject of a conservative boycott. Shocking, right? Now, he said that before. queer affirming businesses like his were even the subject of harassment and vandalism before. So this is not his first fight against these bigots who wanted to come after him because he's gay. In fact, he claims that posters were even put up around town attacking his store in the past. And I'm not sure if the Fairfax County Republicans were responsible for that too. He doesn't say. But if I had to guess, I'd say that it's likely that the bigots that did that led that hate campaign against them probably also belonged to the Fairfax County Republicans based on what I know about them. Again, this is basically an anti-LGBTQ plus hate group, and they don't even try to hide that if you look at their page. But what makes the story even better is the responses from conservatives after their boycott attempt blew up in their faces. NBC4i continues, quote, Chuck Burgoon, a member of the conservative group and the executive director of Fairfield Family Forum, told NBC4 the list wasn't created to boycott, but rather to inform the community about which businesses have supported the Rainbow Alliance. Oh, sure. None of us have called for anyone to boycott these businesses. We were just trying to figure out who was supporting Light the Night, said Burgoon. Our downtown has suffered greatly and it has come back now. We don't want to lose that again, so we haven't called for anybody to boycott anyone. But that is complete bullshit and everyone knows it. And Brandon Love, the owner of Bewilderment, who we heard from before, said, no, I actually think that they should stand by their boycott. And I totally agree with that. I love that sentiment. I think they should say what they said with their full chest, because we all know that if it would have been successful, they would have taken credit for it and said that it was evidence that the city rejected grooming or some shit. But since it failed spectacularly and they looked foolish, now they're running away from it and they're instead trying to ban drag. But remember, the businesses that they tried to boycott had nothing to do with the event that they were offended by. They simply supported the organization that put on the event, which goes to show you it's not about the event to these people. They were just using the event as a justification to try to drive queer people out of town. That's what this was about. But as the city's law administrator pointed out, queer people have a First Amendment right to host these kinds of events. They're not breaking the laws. There were also Christian events hosted in downtown Lancaster as well, and you don't see queer people showing up, covertly photographing them to outrage farm because they simply just chose to not go because they didn't agree with it. But we're in this era where conservatives genuinely believe that they don't have religious freedom unless they're able to take away the freedom from communities that they don't agree with. But it doesn't work that way. And it is nice to see good people go out of their way to show support for communities that are under attack. And that support is going to be more important now than ever, because I think that the vitriol towards queer people isn't going to go away anytime soon. In fact, not to be cynical, it's probably going to get worse during Trump's second term. But we can only do so much to stop him from implementing harmful policies. Our power in that regard is limited. However, we do have unlimited power when it comes to who we choose to support. And I think that we should do what we can to rally behind the targets of bigotry during these next 4 years. Because even though we can't stop all of the things that he's going to do to us at the national level, at the local level, we can have each other's backs, and we should.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games.
F around and find out.
Prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid game. Pride. Trans rights are human rights. It is necessary to push trans on the kids. Pride.